Hello and welcome back to week 3 of, let me get these off here, so okay, no more reflection. Week 3 of CIT225. Today we're going to talk about some advanced ways to do select queries, some new commands that we're going to be dealing with, but everything is still just a select query this week, just with some added bells and whistles. So let's take a quick review on what we've done so far. Okay, so far we've done a select query with a from clause and a where clause, and we threw in an order by. So select column, another caret there, from table, where column, equals value, and order by column. Okay, so again, it's a very simple, straightforward thing. So today we're going to add a couple of, and I'll show you some examples of queries on this, but I'll just go over the commands we're going to be talking about here. So we're going to be talking about commands like distinct. Distinct is a qualifying command that we put in front of the column name. And what it does is it returns only the distinct values in that column. For example, if you put it on the field of last name in a table, it would, and you had 300 individually entered last names in that table. If like there were like 17 Smiths and 22 Jones and 3 Browns, it would only return one instance of that name as opposed to multiple instances of that name. So distinct, again, returns only the unique values in that column or columns. So you'll put it across, like, well, I'll show you how it works, but you put it in the select query and it just returns distinct values or combinations of values. The next one is count. Count just returns a number of how many columns there are in a specific given situation based on the select the clause that you're using. So again, well, I'll show you. So that's what it just returns the number of columns. Like select count from contact, just gives you however many rows are in contacts. Group by. Group by is a command that is used in conjunction with count, and it's for when you're returning a row. If I'm returning 3 rows, let's just I'm returning 2 rows. I'm returning last name and I just want count. So it'd be select last name, comma count from contacts. What I'm telling the query to do is go into the last name table. Let's go into the contact table, return all the last names, and tell me how many instances of each last name are there. So this is known as an aggregate function. Okay, meaning it has to do with math and numbers. So it's returning a massive amount of numbers. Because I'm aggregating information, I need to let the command know which column I'm aggregating by. And again, this will make more sense when I show you the demo, but I just wanted to get this explanation part of the way. So the next one that has to do with this is having. This sets columns to aggregate by. So we do a little. Okay, aggregate aggregate function compounds numbers, sets aggregate. So what I mean is, if you have an aggregate function in select query, you need to tell the SQL Server, the engine, what columns to aggregate by. It can be multiple columns. It doesn't have to just be multiple columns. Okay, and then having sets a criteria. Sets a criteria for aggregate functions. So select. I'm doing a select. I'm doing a select statement. I want to return every last name, how many instances of each last name there are. We're going to group it by that last name, but I only want to know where there's more than 3 of a specific last name. Okay. All these other commands work with these, and I'll show you how to do those too. Okay. So those are the 4 new commands we're going to be dealing with: distinct, count, group by, and having. We're also going to be dealing with these, the bars. The bars are a concatenation function. Concatenation is just a big, long, fancy word that means joining strings together. You can technically use the plus sign. It's a lot of developers don't like to use the plus sign because since the plus sign is an aggregate function, it doesn't. They don't want it. They want to give a separate symbol thing for concatenation. So I'll show you how that works. So concatenation is when you draw, when you join strings together. Okay. We're also going to talk about subqueries. A subquery is exactly what it sounds like. It's when we have a query within a query. This is usually done in the where clause, but it can be done other places. One of the things we like to do as DBAs is not have to hard code values into our queries. So if we have, I'll show you, but we can set values within tables. Use a subquery to pull that value out and then use it in other queries. Again, I know this might seem a little confusing, but when you see the example, it'll make perfect sense. And the last thing we're going to talk about is a simple join. To this point in time, you've really only been, well, it's only been 2 weeks, but to this point in time, you've only been doing select queries on individual tables. So it's a select value from specific table. A lot of times, most times, almost always, we want to, hang on one second. Sorry about that. They're mowing the lawn outside my house. So a simple join, like I was saying, we will almost always want to join multiple tables to get the values out. So we use joins to do that. And we're going to talk about a very simple join today and how to perform it. And then in the weeks to come, we'll talk about the more complex. I happen to love joins. They're a lot of fun. They're probably like the jigsaw puzzle of query writing, because you got to figure out how everything fits together and how to get the information out just the exact way, or you're going to get all weird kinds of weird data. Okay, so let me go ahead and share out my console, and we can talk about what's going on there. Okay, so I'm already in my SQL Plus that's running. On here. Okay, so everything's there already. So let's go ahead and start with the examples here. So first I'm going to start with the distinct. Okay, Okay, so I meant to run this a different way first, but I have the semicolon there. So let me do this again here so you can see the difference. So here's the results with the distinct. There are 8 rows selected, and they're with just regular, with select last name from contact, there are 12 rows selected. So we can see that these names here have multiple entries, and we don't want that. We just want the unique last names, which is what that is. Okay, so that's the distinct query in a nutshell. That's the distinct query in a nutshell. Just shows those values. Okay, let me go ahead and clear my screen here. Okay, next is going to be the count. Again, very simple. Paste. All I want is how many rows in a rental. There you go. There are 5 rows in rental. I can do also select count from contacts where last name equals okay. So it's just returning the number of results, however results, without returning any of the results. But now let's get a little complicated here. So you kind of see where this is going on. So let's add this here and look at this. So this query is I'm selecting the column item rating and the count as total items. So this as command here, I forgot to mention we're talking about this. This allows me to name the column that returns, because right now if I do this, count won't have, see there is no, it's just called count. It's not giving me a name of the column. Here, it gives me a name for the column. I can name them on the fly. So select item rating, count, star, as total items from item, group by item rating. So like I said, the group by is to give a target for the aggregation. So we're aggregating on item rating, returning all the unique values in item rating, and how many are there. Okay. So as you can see, it's a straightforward command. This allows us to aggregate information, so we're not saying, so we don't have to just see like select item rating from item. Oops, it helps if you spell things right. So I don't have to like go and say, okay, there's 1, 2, 3. It just gives us the ability to group by from item, group by item rating, order by total items, descending. So we're just adding, we can add a where clause to this, and we're gonna do that in a second. So, okay. So now let's add a where clause to this command. Add a where clause to this command here. Let me clear my screen first. Okay, let me get me out of the way here. Okay. Select item rating and the count as total items. Count from item where item rating is like PG. Group by item rating. And let's run this. We're just now, see, what we're doing now is we're zeroing in on specific information that we want. the first query was just show me all the ratings, like PG, PG, whatever. Then I said, show me the item ratings and how many of each. Let's aggregate it down, but show me everything. And then we saw that, what was this query here? Now I'm saying, just show me where it's like PG. Or I can say where it's specifically PG-13 or everyone or anything along those lines. I can say, show me this. And again, we'll be building on this, okay? Let's add the having clause into this. Okay, and here's my having clause. It's the same query as we saw just before. There's no where clause in here, but now I'm just saying, show me the item rating and its aggregation from the items table, grouping by item rating, but only where it's having a count greater than or equal to 2. Just another way to narrow things down. So I think I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this here. So I think next week when I do this, I might invite, do it as a live session. So I'm talking to somebody, not just the wall here, so I can get some questions back and forth, because I want to make sure that you guys are getting this as we go along. Okay. So let's now talk about two things here. Let's look at this query here. Okay. So we got a couple things going on here. First of all, we have our concatenation command. We have our double bars. And that is, if you've got a normal keyboard, it is the button over the enter key that you shift. It's you got bracket, then you got the slash, and then on the slash, between backspace and enter, you have the bar. So select last name. Now you notice how this A here, A dot last name, double bar, quote, comma, space, quote, double bar, first name, then B telephone number. So the A's and B's, the A and B are signifying which table the information's in, because I am now joining two tables. Select last name, first name, B telephone number from contact at A, comma, telephone B. So what I'm saying here, this is a very simple join. I'm saying go to contact, go to telephone, join those tables on the contact ID, and then return this information to me. So it's going to return the concatenation for last name, first name, and then the telephone number that's based on the connection between the contact IDs. And when we talk about joins in full later on, I'll do some diagramming, because if you know anything about Venn diagrams, it really explains how joins work. So let's see what our results for this is. So now, Randy Wynn, Brian Wynn, his phone number, Oscar, Doreen, Megan, and Matthew, their phone numbers, so on and so forth. So I've taken information from two tables and presented it. I can add other where clauses into this. I can add other order bys in here. But so we're getting the idea of how these things are working. Okay. Next, subqueries. So before I jump into subqueries, a question was asked in the forums about the common lookup table. So I'm going to do a quick Brother Civics philosophy on databases. So the thing is, as database administrators and database developers, our goal is to make sure that data not only is easily searchable, but doesn't get dirty, doesn't get messed up or clogged up with with stuff that doesn't need to be there, or misspellings. And we love people, we all love people, we love users, but sometimes they fat finger things, they type things in wrong. We want to make sure that the data is consistent and clean throughout the entire enterprise. Lookup tables allow us to do this. So it allows us to do a couple things. First of all, it allows us to narrow down choices for the user. I think the example in the forum was it would populate a drop-down menu in an application. It absolutely could, because for example, with our DVD shop, so if someone was entering data or looking for something, we have a drop down. Do you want DVD? Do you want Blu-ray? Do you want video game on a drop down? That way they're not typing in DVD, Blu-ray, or something and getting no results because they typed in the wrong thing. The other thing it allows us to do is it allows us to put what's called a foreign key, and we'll get into those later. A foreign key, we'll go into detail those later. So what a foreign key is, it's a connection between two tables that when you put information into it, the column, one of the columns has to match a column that has a preset value in there. For example, the example I gave in the forums, let's say in your video game, your video game / movie rental place, you have certain videos that aren't allowed to be rented by anyone under the age of 17. So you can place a value in your common lookup table called age and give it the value of 17. And whenever someone tries to rent something, it will check against that before it allows the rental to go through, the purchase to go through. And this, again, it allows us to not have to hard code this information into the database, or into our queries rather. We never want to hard code information, because in this case, like if we have a query for, you know, movies, a query for video games, a query for anything, that means I've got 3 queries, and each of them I've got to hard code the age that I want it to be, as opposed to just having a value in a table that gets pulled out. So I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. So here's the query that I'm talking about. Let me clear my screen here first and put this in place. Select item title and barcode from item, where item type is in. Remember, in says there's going to be an array of information coming in. And now I've got this query. Select common lookup from common lookup ID from common lookup, where common lookup type is Blu-ray. So let me look at this query first and see what that returns. Okay. So let's take a look at this query first. So it returns up one ID. This ID exists in the item table, and now instead of having someone trying to remember what the ID was or have to type in Blu-ray, we're just going to pass that value in. I could, you know, increase this like that. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, okay. Okay, so obviously, so let's say there's only one value, so only one value came back, so DVD doesn't exist. So let's troubleshoot this. I know there's a DVD column in there, there's a DVD value, but I don't remember what it is. So let me do a quick select common lookup ID, comma, common lookup type from common lookup. Oh, it's DVD full screen or DVD widescreen. So I left that. I forgot stuff. I did put the whole thing there. Now, one thing I want you to notice about this common lookup table, there's a lot of different things in here. So this is kind of like an all-purpose common lookup table. System admin. These are like, you know, this is like employee information. This is designated employee customer. This is like credit cards, and this is like, you know, types of stuff that we have here. So you can have one common lookup table for everything, or you can have a common lookup table for, like, you know, inventory. You have a common lookup. So you want to, you know, kind of segregate the data to make sure like each table contains, like, this is the lookup table only for customer data. This is the lookup table for employee data. So anyway, so you can do that. So let me fix my query here and to make it easier on me, I'm just gonna put Xbox. And remember, it's case sensitive, so I gotta type in Xbox the way it looks in the thing. And now I got the two values, okay? Now let's look at the original query here, which is right here. This is it. Oh, I never actually ran it. Hang on a second. Let me do this here. So let me copy this here again and paste this in. So we're looking at select item and barcode from item where item type is in blue. What item type is in, it's gotta be in here. Select common lookup type for common lookup where common lookup type equals Blu-ray. So put my semicolon there, hit enter, and now this is everything we've got in Blu-ray. Again, let me reiterate, this is all about taking the massive amount of data that's in the database and making it more, putting it into bite-sized chunks to pass on to the end user so they can read it and process it themselves. I do want to show you a common error that happens here from time to time, and this is kind of what we saw before. So let me put this DVD. Okay, and let me bring this over. Now, in the course of your exercises, as you've seen, the exercise you have tell you how many rows you should have come back. So my philosophy on that generally is don't necessarily worry about how many rows come back or don't come back, because as we get later into the semester and you've been playing with this database a lot, you may have added rows where they shouldn't be added, and it gets a little convoluted. But what should never happen, very rarely, is that you get no rows returned. So that means there's a problem somewhere. So if I ran this query here, I get no rows selected, but I know there's DVDs in there. So if this comes up like this, the problem lies in here for subqueries. That's not returning the right value. So we know that it's DVD full screen, DVD widescreen. So we need to troubleshoot that by looking at, like I did before, looking into that table, see what the common lookup values are, and then putting the proper value in there. And just for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna change that to Xbox. Copy this over and clear my screen. Oops. Put this query into place, semicolon, and those are my Xbox titles. Okay. Okay, hopefully you all are keeping up. Again, shoot out questions to me or to the TA about what's going on. So last one, we're gonna kind of put everything here together. So let's look what we got here. Selecting common lookup type and count from common lookup table A and item table B joined on the common lookup ID equals the item type. So let's talk about a command here real quick, the description command that was brought up in chat. Sometimes we need to know what a table is made up of. So description and then the table name gives us a layout of the item column, the columns in the table, whether it's null or not, and the data type. So I'm gonna look at two tables. I'm looking at that, I'm looking at common lookup. So we know from the previous example over here that item type is connected to common lookup ID. If we look at item type is a number, okay? And that ties into common lookup ID so that we don't have the words DVD or Xbox in this table. It's connected here, so we're connected to this key. So what I want to do in this query is I want to find out how many of a specific common lookup type, in this case it's gonna be like DVDs, Xbox, PlayStation, etc. I wanted to pull up all the distinct values in common lookup for our common lookup type and tell me how many there are in the item table. So I'm pulling common lookup data type out of common lookup, and then by this count command, I'm saying, hey, show me how many of each distinct value here exists in the item table, and base it on the common lookup ID where the item type equals it. And we're going to group it by common lookup type, because remember, we're concatenating. This is our aggregate. This is our aggregate definition. Okay. So let's go ahead and look how this command, what the results come out with this query. Clear my screen. Paste this in place and run it. Okay. So we have 7 Blu-rays, 1 Nintendo GameCube, so on and so forth. So it returns 6 values. Now you'll notice that when we looked at what was in common lookup, there was a lot. There was DBA and all those other things. Those don't exist in the item table, so nothing's going to get returned. In this case, I'm only looking at where these two items are equal. It's not going to return anything that's not equal. Okay. So these commands, what we just talked about, let me widescreen myself here today. Let me stop sharing here, actually. So these commands are going to help you with the exercises this week. I think you guys are doing good. I'm still grading lab 2. I should have them done today. But just keep persevering. This, you guys, from what I'm seeing, you guys are totally nailing this. If you have any questions, ping me, text me, or shoot me a message in discussions, or put in discussions. Reach out to your groups. Reach out to your TA. I posted in the announcements there was a TA group on Thursday. So find the help is all out there. But I think that covers everything I had for you today. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to help you, and I will talk to you guys next week.